Hello and a very warm welcome to a brand new edition of To The Point with me, Frank Pereira. Today's episode is a special episode, and that's why we have a very special guest with us on the program as well. It is my pleasure to welcome on the show Sri M. Sri M, welcome.
Namaskar, thank you.
You're in Delhi for a very special purpose. You're on a Padayatra, started from Kanyakumari, going right up to Kashmir. Why don't you tell us about that?
Well, this is a walk, and it's a rather long marathon walk because we started on the 12th of January from Kanyakumari. We've covered many states. We have reached Varanasi. I came on a special trip to Delhi. We'll continue from Varanasi. We've done about 5,000 kilometers. We have another 3,000 kilometers to go. We reached Kashmir in 2016 May. We call it the Walk of Hope. In Hindi we call it Asa Yatra. So what is this hope that we have? That's the yatra. It's all about that. I believe, like most of the great religious teachers, philosophers, and great men who have lived all over the world, not only in this country, that we human beings are one. We may have different names, different religions, different what you call in Hindi sampradayas, different ideologies, but no one can deny the fact that we are human beings. Basically, we are human beings. We are all born from the womb of a mother. Nobody falls from heaven. And we go back onto this earth. So in this small drama between life and death, why would we fight with each other on the basis of religion, caste, creed? I think we have now evolved enough to set apart these things and look for more important things in our movement towards evolution, human evolution. It's not even politics or history, it's human evolution. So Manav Ekta, which is the organization which I head, which started this yatra, believes that as human beings with differences, we can live together in peace and not fight. When violence...
No, that's a very good message, living together in peace. But in today's day and age, looking at all that's happening around us, that doesn't seem to be happening. Do you think that as a species, or for that matter, as a society, we are becoming more and more intolerant?
I have a little different take on this, but we are intolerant, but we have been intolerant before. It's not only that we are intolerant now, but now in one way it's very good that the media is very alert. So whenever something happens, immediately everybody comes to know. The negative aspect is that only such incidents are usually broadcasted very much, which is the other point, which is okay. We have to know what's happening. But this growth is not because of communal problems. I personally think that it is some kind of vested interest that makes use of religious differences, and not exactly that, communal problems are presented as communal problems, but the root may be something else.
Interesting what you're saying, because all religions preach about peace and love and hope.
Yes.
But there are some people who turn this around and twist it.
Exactly. That is the cause of this, what we call intolerance. Great people like Swami Vivekananda, who I think he was one of the first advocates of known in this 100 years, who said, we are humans, we live together. Somebody asked him to define the Gita. He said, look, every human being is potentially divine. Now when you say every human being, that doesn't mean any religion, right?
Yes.
When Jesus Christ said, blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God, he didn't mean people belonging to any community, right? And when the Muslim starts his prayer by, in the name of God, the beneficent, the merciful, it's understood that some of that compassion and mercy is also in us, because an essence of that supreme being is in every one of us. So it is there. When the Jew meets each other, the Jews meet each other, they say shalom, which means peace. Salam also means peace and surrender.
Yes.
So it's not as if it's not there. But then some points which can be taken up out of context and turned into issues is the problem, not the religion. I don't take that. Plus, we make a distinction between ritual and reality. One can perform certain rituals, but that does not make him religious. I think religious is religiosity, kindness, compassion, goodness, giving rather than hoping to receive. These are central issues of most world religions. So, which means that definitely they have been misinterpreted, and to create problems, to divide people. Divide and rule is an old policy.
Yes, yes.
Unfortunately.
Do you believe that that's still happening, divide and rule?
In some way, yes.
Will it continue to happen? How do we change it?
This is why we are walking. I'm not saying that I alone can do anything in this, but I think it is a step. Many people told me I was mad. Nothing is going to happen. You're mad. You're crazy. Will you walk from this end to that end for 1.5 years? And what change will you bring? Many people. When I went to Ralegaon Siddhi, and Anna Hazare walked with us, we spent one evening. I asked him what to do. People say I'm crazy. He said very nicely, he said, Pagal se hi ye kaam hoga. He said only a madman can do this. So I'm happy. People can call me mad, but I think it's about time that we discover that this kind of sanity which we see is more dangerous than insanity.
Indeed, indeed.
So I'm planting the seeds. Wherever we go, we meet people and tell them, look, this is how we are. I have an advantage in a way, because I think I'm continuing the work that Kabir Das did in Varanasi. And
Indeed.
we are in some ways very similar.
You're planting the seeds, it's up to the next generations to nurture the saplings and see it grow into a tree.
Absolutely. So that we can sit in its shade, and when the wind blows, those beautiful flowers and fruits, the whole perfume will spread throughout the world, because the aim is not just India. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu is an ancient saying. The whole world should be happy. So, but we have to start at home, right?
Yes.
So we are doing it here.
Now, before we move on and talk about spirituality, talk about the education system in India, because I know you have some strong views about them. Let's talk about your childhood, and let's talk about what made you what you are today. Firstly, I'd like to ask you about M. Why M?
M. I was born in a Muslim household in Trivandrum, which is the capital city of Kerala. We are fourth generation settlers from the north, which means across the border. The Maharajas of Travancore, since they didn't trust their own bodyguards, they got two brothers from what is now the Northwest Frontier Agency to become their personal bodyguards. This is recorded in Kerala's history. Then they settled down, intermarried in Hyderabad and so on. So this is our lineage, physical lineage. So when I was born, my parents named me Mumtaz Ali Khan. Luckily I didn't go to Bollywood, so I'm here still. So they called me Mumtaz Ali Khan. Now, by the time I read my 10th standard, I dropped the Khan, because I said it has a certain connotation, so I left it. Then, when I was initiated into the Nath Sampradaya, my Guru Maheshwar Nath Babaji belonged to the Nath. They have to add a Nath to the initiatory name. So he gave me a beautiful name, which according to him is my name in the past, but that's controversial. We don't have to go. He called me Madhukar Nath, and he used to always call me Madhu. Mumtaz Ali Khan is M. Madhukar Nath is M. But more than that, I like to think of myself as a human being, Manushya. Manushya, Manav in Hindi, Manushya in Sanskrit, also in Malayalam. It means a human being. So I consider myself as a human being without any of these connotations, and this came about through my thorough grounding in Sufi, but before that Vedanta and Hindu philosophy. I have studied it. It's not as if I haven't. I think the aberrations come because people don't study it properly.
Indeed. They don't know what it is.
So I studied it deeply. I have an experience also of it. So therefore I said, let me call myself M. Now, out of respect, some friends started adding a Shri to it. Well, I think Shri M sounds better than Mr. M. Because, Mr. M is the James Bond's boss.
Yes.
So Shri M, so it stuck. When I sign, I simply sign as M. I don't add any Shri. And I have only one Shri.
Indeed. You yourself said that you were born into a Muslim household. What ignited that fire in you to, go along the spiritual path that you're on right now? When was the Kundalini fire also ignited?
Now, I will keep that Kundalini fire aside for a while, because nowadays this Kundalini word is bandied about quite a bit in different ways. But what happened was, from childhood, my grandmother used to tell me a lot of Sufi stories, because her father was a Sufi. So that spiritual interest started. Then at the age of 8, I had a very special experience of meeting someone who I had never seen before under a jackfruit tree in the backyard of our house in the evening. Now, he put his hand on my head and said, when the time is okay, things will work out. So this happened. After that, I don't know what he did to me. Certainly I was not hypnotized, I can assure you. Something changed in me, and I started looking for the deeper aspects of. Also, in childhood, they got a man to teach me the Quran at home. The man turned out to be a Sufi, so I learned more about the Sufi system than about the Quran. Of course, later on I studied the Quran to know what it is all about. So all these things combined, but the turning point was probably Maheshwarnath Babaji, who I later came to know who he was. His meeting with him, and then the flame kind of began to become more intense. At the age of 19, finished my college. I didn't even wait for the results. I felt I was in some kind of a cage. We belong to a very affluent family. I am the only son. So the cage was golden, of course, but it was a cage nevertheless. So I wanted to break free. So without informing anybody, I just walked away from home, travelled all the way to the Himalayas, and met Maheshwarnathji, who is my guru, once again. We had 3.5 years of training. I used to wander with him wherever he went. I think even today, that's the most golden part of my life. This 3.5 years, where you have no fixed agenda. You can say it like a parivrajaka, but if you translate it, it's like a vagabond. I mean, you don't know where you're going. Wherever he went, I went. But in those 3.5 years, I learned a lot. I understood many things personally.
Were those the turning years of your life then, would you say?
The turning years after coming back. My intention was to stay on there and not come back. Babaji said there are other things for you. You're not to become a sannyasin or a wandering monk. You have to go back, get married, settle down, behave like ordinary children, ordinary people, have kids. It's only then that you will understand what's going on. He said most people who will come to you will be people who are married. You are unmarried, what solution will you give? And also he said to teach people from example that you can lead both. It's not necessary that you change your robes or that. So I came back. Many years, even then I decided not to get married. Till the age of 37 I was not married. I thought it will compromise my freedom in some way. But things happened, and I met somebody who I thought would be suitable for me, especially because of her non-intrusive nature and calm mind. So we got married. I have 2 children. They are also married now, both of them. So now I am back again to that kind of freedom. See, I thought sometimes Babaji probably foresaw the whole thing. I don't know. but he passed away in 85. Wait a minute, yeah, 85.
You know, the Himalayas, you spoke about the Himalayas and you spoke about how you spent many good years of your life there. What is it that attracts spiritual people to the Himalayas? What is it that has this kind of aura around the Himalayas?
Apart from the actual snow-clad mountains that attract people who are not even spiritual.
That's for the beauty of it.
Beauty, it's amazing. I mean, it's not like any other thing. You're walking towards Kedar, there's nothing to be visible. You just see normally there's a river flowing. Suddenly you turn a corner and there is this huge ice thing standing in front of you. That itself is a spiritual, it breaks your limitations in some, for me, that's how I think. Apart from that, from ancient times, great sages have spent their times in the Himalayas. People say when they have a concept of Shiva, it means a yogi, Mahayogi. Shiva is also depicted as sitting in the Himalayas in Kailash.
So there is something there that draws you close to it.
It's possibly that all these people have lived there and there is something out there. It could be also that they went there because there is something there. Could work both ways.
Yes.
And since they have gone there, both work together. Shankara wrote his commentaries there. Gaudapada sat in Badrinath and wrote the Karikas, which still people are poring over and not able to understand. So, this is the thing. It's somewhat also in one way, even though there are no mountains, Varanasi. We know that the streets are dirty, we know that, but I think a person who goes once to Varanasi goes there again. What is it that you can't explain? Ganga is there, but people would say, oh, Ganga is just a river.
And Ganga is there everywhere.
Everywhere. So why Varanasi especially? So these are things which we cannot, in the ordinary sense of the term, explain away. They're there. If you go, you feel it. And if you are searching for a spiritual fulfillment, you will find it. If you simply want to be a bhangi, that's also available.
Do you believe that, with spirituality, we can do away with many of the problems that we face on a daily basis?
As long as it is spiritual and not kind of, in brackets, strictly religious. When I say spiritual, it need not necessarily mean that you are meditating or doing a process of moving forward, like you said, the Kundalini and so on. Spirituality also means that you basically recognize, this is my experience, basically recognize the divine essence in everything. If that kind of spiritual life, if you begin to feel, like no spiritual person will cut trees. There's so much life in it. I don't know if you have noticed, in the dead of the night when there is no noise, you go and stand near a tree. Even when there is no breeze, there's something coming from that tree. You can call it the sound of silence or whatever you want to call it. Crickets chirping away. So many activities are going on. Same way the ocean. When you go to the ocean, your mind opens up. This is what I mean by spiritual, day-to-day spirituality. The rivers. You meet somebody, the person looks very aggressive, suppose. You talk to that person, suddenly you discover that there is a soft corner in that person. You would have labeled him as a terrible man, but he's a good fellow. See, this is what I mean by spirit. And for that, you need some daily training, which is the practical aspect of spirituality. And once you are established in that equanimity of the mind, everything becomes spiritual, every little thing. Babaji told me once, if you meditate for 24 hours every day for 24 years in a cave, when you go out, you don't hear a child crying out of hunger in a small kutir somewhere. Your years have been wasted. So spirituality also opens the heart, makes it more tender. You can't go to the extent of saying, bless them that curse you. Maybe one person only did that in his life, Jesus Christ. We can't, but at least you can try.
Yeah. Talking about labeling, I'm a Christian, married to a Hindu, have many Muslim friends as well, right from my school days. We had, very open friendship with everyone around us. Times have changed now. Talking about labeling, the moment you see a Muslim, you label him as a terrorist. That's what's happening in the US. One of the presidential candidates, Donald Trump, is saying he's going to stop Muslims from entering the country. Why is it that we tend to label people before we even know them?
I can only say that it is the most unfortunate thing that's happening, but there are certain reasons involved because of a bunch of people, a handful of people who are twisting their religion to for their own needs. So when people say, oh, somebody asked me the other day, how is it, a journalist asked me the other day, how is it that every terrorist who's caught and everybody who's caught has a Muslim name? I said there are terrorism of all kinds. There are people who have no religion who are also terrorists. I said there are left terrorists, there are right terrorists, there are all kinds of terrorists. So happens that today in this particular historical context, these are the people who are the terrorists. So you can't deny that they have Muslim name, they are Muslim. Yes, I personally feel you can't change them to tit for tat. This is not possible. You know what will happen? There will be world war if this begins. Instead of that, I think if a few really spiritual people engage them in a dialogue, they may say we don't want a dialogue, but it's still possible. I feel things can be sorted out. Like immediate neighborhood, we have Pakistan. I think dialogue should continue. Can't do anything by force. Everybody gets their own ego up then. It's a question of anger, vested interests and things like that. It's not really fundamentally the question of religion. In fact, I don't like the word fundamentalist, because if somebody knew the fundamentals of their own religion, they wouldn't be like this.
Yes.
Jihad. They're saying we are waging jihad. It's very clear even in the Quran. Suppose you go by the Quran. I go by everything, but suppose you go by the Quran. Taking a human life is not allowed for another human being unless it happens during an official state pronounced war. 2. Suicide is totally forbidden. So all these suicide bombs is not Islam. Forbidden. Jihad means basically to be able to control your emotions and to fight with yourself to purify it. In the Gita there is a war, Kurukshetra. But what is the message? Message is not war. That war was meant for a particular purpose, for a particular time.
Indeed.
And the message is ahimsa, paramo dharma. How can somebody say both? You will say it's a contradiction. It's not a contradiction. That is different. It's for a particular purpose. While the teaching is for peace. If I am teaching peace here and if 100 people come and try to stop me, in self-defense you certainly should stop them. There's no question.
Indeed.
But you shouldn't have animosity toward this guy.
Indeed.
Because he's misunderstood things. He's been brainwashed since childhood. So we need to do it in the reverse. That's my understanding. I may be wrong. This is one of the reasons why we have started this Padayatra. You know, in English we have an expression, down to earth.
Yes.
I think by keeping your feet down on the earth, many things can be sorted out in reality.
Well, on that thought-provoking note, we'll have to end the program. Thank you so much, Sri M, for joining us on the program. Much appreciate you being with us here on Rajya Sabha Television. That's all the time we have. Thank you so much for watching. See you again next time.